Welcome to the program. In 2009, African leaders, scholars and academics met to discuss the state of education on the continent. Rising from that meeting, they passed a unanimous resolution requiring national governments and subnationals to commit 3% of GDP to education. This audacious resolution became what is known as the Abuja Declaration. 16 years down the line, it is doubtful much of the goals and objectives of that declaration have been achieved. Neglect by successive governments, unresolved industrial crisis, research deficit and poor funding have hampered progress in the sector in Nigeria. Under the President Bola Tinubu administration, a number of reforms have been announced, all aimed at reviving the educational system. But is there the political will to drive these reforms? For more insight, I am joined in the studio by Professor Suwaba Saidu, the Honorable Minister of State for Education. Wonderful to have you, Madam.
Thank you. Same here.
And Happy New Year.
Same to you.
So education, you've been in the education sector all your life. And the problems, as you know, are deep and long-standing. How do you think that you're suited to make a remarkable dent during your period? It's a short time, in the ministry.
Well, for me, as number one, as an educationist, I started work as a university lecturer, as a graduate assistant. For the past 20 years, I've been working as a teacher. I can say that I'm quite familiar with the education sector. I worked as a lecturer. At the same time, I'm a development worker. I have worked as a consultant with different partners, which generally most of the work that I do has to do with primary education, secondary education. This I have looked at both in urban location, rural location. So I can say that I have a clear understanding of the education sector across all the levels. That is primary school level, secondary school level, and university level. And I rose through the rank from graduate assistant also up to a professor in education, specifically science education.
Okay, so you have a rich background in that sector. We can see from that. The question will be, which a lot of people would like to know, do your children attend public school in Nigeria at any level?
All my children are in Nigeria. Though I can say that for us as university kids, we go through staff primary school, staff secondary school. That's the line of schooling that we go through. My son now, my daughter graduated from Bayero University, Kano, just last year, waiting for her service. I have a son right now as a level 3 student also in a public university. So for me, for my family, for my children, we have gone through the public system, all of us. I did my university at Bayero University, Kano, and Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, which are all public schooling.
I'm sure you know why I'm asking that question. There is that general sentiment that perhaps public officials should be encouraged or compelled to have their children attend public schools so that they may be interested in the welfare of public schools so that it gets better. Do you agree with this sentiment or impression?
Is a sentiment, but for
or suggestion me, too. It has been suggested as well.
It's a suggestion, but for me, I would like to see a system like currently what we are doing. What we are doing under the Renewed Hope agenda, under Education Renewed Hope, we have key priority areas that we are focusing. We are trying to come up with reformations that are long-lasting. Most of the time, there are different interventions by different governments. Most of these interventions are not actually leaving lasting solution to the problem. But from an insider now that understand what it takes to make this reformation change, to make all these changes, I can say that what we are working for now, what we are working on based on the renewed agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, if fully implemented, will actually lead to a lasting solution to the different problems we have in the education sector.
Okay, so give us an example of one of those reforms that will make a major dent.
We have about 6 key priority areas. Each of these key priority areas have different arms in terms of, as I said, we are looking for lasting solution. So it's not just to identify one thing to do, rather let's look at it holistically, different areas. For instance, one of the key issues we have is out-of-school children. What do we have on the ground to solve the issue of out-of-school children? We have different reforms that we are targeting to ensure that we enroll these children back to school. Let's take, for instance, there are solutions, but let's take the Almajiri Commission that we have, Almajiri Commission and out-of-school children. This commission has programs, and these programs they have are lasting programs. Apart from that, under the Almajiri education, because issue around out-of-school children, we have about 50 million that are considered out-of-school children. We have different data, but it depends on the data you are looking at. But basically, let's say 50 million out-of-school children that we have. These 50 million include Almajiri, but as we all are aware, everybody living in Nigeria knows that Almajiri have a system of education. Right. They have their own curriculum, they have their teachers, they have a system that they are using in educating this Almajiri. So the definition itself, we want to go back and redefine what do we mean by out-of-school children, because Almajiri are not part of that program. But then at the same time, for us to ensure that we help this Almajiri to fit into the general system that we have of education, let's go back and see about providing them with foundational learning, basic literacy, basic numeracy, even some aspect of digital training, and also skill acquisition program.
Because when you say that they have their own system of education, the question will be, how useful is that education for today's world?
Yes, and that's why we are coming up with this reformation. Let's give them skill training. If you are attending an Almajiri school, you are at the same time being taught the foundational learning. Literacy, numeracy, skill, and digital training. When I say literacy, numeracy, have the ability to read and write, do basic arithmetics, be able to operate simple digital tools, your phones, mobile phones, do all those, a lot of opportunities are out there. And then you'll be equipped with a skill. That skill is meant to help you live a sustainable future. When you have a skill that you can actually be able to make use of to empower yourself and even your family, then you are being mainstreamed into the general system. So we have that plan on the ground.
Before you even come to the Almajiri system and the out-of-school children, I mean, in most parts of the world, education is regarded as a basic right, that is a fundamental right that every child should have. And so it's also used to measure the growth and development of every country. So why do you think it's difficult to make basic primary and secondary education compulsory and free in Nigeria? What is so difficult in achieving that?
It's compulsory is also free. Most of states have made that declaration that basic education is compulsory and free.
But in most states it's not free.
It depends. We have the national and we have at subnational level. And I'm sure that there is a bill now in the Assembly trying to pass this so that it can ensure that all the states have that also. But at the same time, let's have quality, inclusive education. It's also very important. And we have programs, reforms that are targeting that also.
So if the education you say is free, why do we have so many children still out of school? Because there's also that discussion about parents being unable to have the funds, or poor parents to buy books, to buy the basic that they need to send their children to school.
We have, as I'm saying, there are different factors. We have social factors, we have economic factors. Some parents may have all the necessary things they have. They have the money, they can send their children to the school, but because of perception, they don't do that. They don't send the children to the school. Some parents can afford to buy the basic necessities, basic amenities for the school for the children, but they also choose not to. So these are different factors that are coming into place. And that is why I said part of the reform agenda, renewed hope agenda that we have under this administration, is to provide a lasting solution, a more holistic solution to the problem. So we are not only looking at the problems we have, out-of-school children, 45 million children are considered learning poor, and all other factors, but we are looking at each of this. How do we provide a lasting solution to that? Issues around advocacy, issues around modeling the schools. As I started, we have different programs. We have conditional cash transfer for children that are out of schools. We have also provision to ensure that how do we get these children back to school. We have TVET training, and it's also targeting out of school children. That is technical, vocational, educational, and training. For this TVET training, we are putting a lot of money into that. We have vocational training, skills training institutions, both federal and states, both private and government owned, that we are going to open up for the public. People that are out of school, adults that are out of school, adolescents that are out of school can come into these centers. So they will be trained, they will be given stipend to ensure that they continue doing the training. We give them skill, and then we'll even give them a starter pack so that they can actually, whatever skill they learn, they have a starter pack for them to actually.
So can you give us a number of people that you have already impacted with a couple of the programs or the reforms?
For the TVET, we are rolling it out this
for the what?
TVET, technical, vocational, educational, and training. And it's in 3 arms. That is, the skill acquisition is 6 months. And then the vocational is 1 year. And then we have our federal technical colleges that are also going to roll out this program from JSS1, JSS2, up to SS, technical programs. We are also going to give them the skills. And when we are talking about these skills, we are talking about not paper and pencil or coming to the class and just talking, rather practical skill where we are going to employ artisan, practicing people to come and sit down and do this. Already the mapping for the different skills have been done. So for that particular, we are rolling it out in this 2025.
And this is across all regions?
Across all the regions.
How do people access them? Because they need the information.
The program will roll out. People will be aware of this because we are, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to make use of both private. In the private, you are not paying. It's completely free. The government will pay the private institutions that are rolling these programs. We will pay them to enroll. If you are enrolling 50 students, we have per head, how much are we paying you? We give you the number based on the number of students you have. We pay their tuition for them. And then we give them stipends as transportation allowance so that they will be able to come. And that money can still go back to support their family, because probably most of the students that are coming in are students that are coming from maybe probably a poor background. So that will also assist them. And as I mentioned, we are also going to give them a starter pack at the end of the program. But we need completion. We are going to put a mechanism of ensuring attendance and completion of these programs once they enroll into the programs.
Okay, let's look at one of the recent reports that was in the papers. It was said that the president has mandated the reintroduction of history in basic education. Where are we on that? Has it taken off already, or there are still plans? What's going on with that? It's
also going to be rolled out. Any such pronouncement, we would try to see how do we make sure that there is effective implementation of that. So we are in the process of doing that. But as I was saying, there are other programs. History is ongoing.
Can you give us a date, or is this within 6 months or 1 year?
It's something that we are planning. We are yet to fix specific timelines, but as you are aware, we are starting a new session now. I can't pin down specifically when we are starting, but we are planning. People are working around to ensure that we do the proper planning and the implementation also effectively. We don't want to start something that is not effectively implemented. So once we have finalized arrangement, we'll notify the public on when that is commencing.
Also connected to that is the student loan. It's a brainchild of this administration. Where are we on that? We understand that at least 100,000 students have applied for the loans.
And a lot have been given. I consider it's one of the good reformation ideas by this administration. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was very thoughtful in terms of supporting youths to ensure they get the education. Because you can ask the universities, you discover that enrollment has increased across all universities because of this initiative. I can cite example of where I work by University Kano, where without this student loan, a lot of students are dropping and a lot of students are declining the admission. But with this new initiative, people are just coming and enrolling. So it has increased the enrollment at the university. As I'm speaking now, 133 institutions benefited from this student loan. About 129,000 students are beneficiaries of this. And we have still additional number of students that are applying. For now, we have about 133 institutions that have actually benefited from these
so government institutions, the ones run
government, by, yes, government institutions.
Right. In Nigeria, there seems to be a deepening divide, an inequality between the haves and have-nots. This is partly fueled by lack of access to education. In those days, we used to have the federal government colleges, which used to be an equalizer. Whether you come from a rich home or you come from a poor home, today we're building societies that are exclusive to the rich and exclusive to the poor. Have you thought about how this can be reversed? Because it's not a good thing for society.
This student loan is given an opportunity for people that normally, as you are aware, even people that you cannot even consider that with the current situation in the country, education at higher level is becoming more difficult for those that have that we can refer to them as low-income family. If you have 5 children all going to the university, who do you support to go to the university? But then with this student loan, it's also giving you access to that, because up to date we know that our government-owned institutions are excellent. Our students compete everywhere. Go to even the developed countries.
They are excellent? The federal government colleges or
I'm referring to
universities
the
are
institutions.
Excellent?
Of course.
How?
Well, I don't know, but
they face a lot of crises. You don't
we
want us
have
to
crises,
yes.
But if you look at those people that are going abroad to work there, you discover that they are doing very well. Our students that are going for their masters are doing excellent.
There's poor infrastructure. There's low wages for teachers. They're on strike all the time. How does that, it's low research, how does that produce excellent education?
So our students, anywhere you go, graduates from Nigerian Public University are still doing very well. We are all, as I said, I'm also a graduate of a public university. We have a lot of people that are graduate of the public university, and they are doing very well. And they compete everywhere they go. Of course, there is room for improvement, because, of course, anywhere you go, there are challenges. Anywhere you go, even in the so-called developed countries, they have their own challenges.
But you would agree that tertiary education today in Nigeria is not at the level that it should be.
And we are working assiduously to ensure that we are there. We have different factors. As I said, we are looking to see how do we approach the education sector in totality.
So because, for instance, poor wages, that's one of the reasons why you don't have younger people wanting to be teachers or wanting to join the educational sector. There has to be other innovative ways to fund government tertiary institutions, because part of the problem is lack of funding. Yeah. What are you doing in that regard?
We have a lot of plans. Part of that plans is to support the institutions to utilize the alumni. Let them understand the role that alumni can play in terms of sourcing for funding. If you take recognized institutions like Oxford, Harvard, you will see that they have a very strong alumni body that are actually funding those institutions adequately. So we are looking at also mobilizing the alumni in the different institutions that we have to actually come in to see how do they support that. But apart from that also, we have funding for research. As you are aware, we have NRF, National Research Funds. For this, I think about 7 billion has been earmarked to fund different researches. And TED Fund is also building incubation centers across, I think, in each geopolitical zones. This is from research to market. All this, by the time it's fully implemented, universities are able to do their researches, and the researches are not lying in bookshelf at the library, but those researches are fully actualized in such a way that they manifest into a product that they can sell. It's also going to bring in additional funding for the universities, for the institutions. So what we are seeing is we are going to give additional funding for research. Apart from the additional funding for the research, with this NEL fund, with more students coming into the institutions, IGR is also going to be improved. And then government at the same time is also looking to see how do we give more, empower these universities to have more funding so that they can be able to carry out their...
Yes, so this doesn't really touch the wages, because, and it all sounds vague, government would empower teachers for funding. People want to know the specifics, within a couple of years. This is specifically how we think we can generate more revenue whether the universities themselves or the federal government. You understand what I'm saying? When you talk about the alumni, yes, some might want to be involved. Not everybody wants to be involved. So it doesn't sound concrete.
But it's very concrete. Review the funding for institutions in developed countries, recognized institutions. Alumni form actually a huge percentage of funding that goes into these institutions.
So, but here in Nigeria, what is the structure and the framework that has been put together to drive this?
As I said, we are coming in new. You are aware we are coming in new. We are working on that. And at the same time, issues around wages that you're talking about, you know that right now we are in discussion. We have a committee working together with the unions around issues to do with all their grievances, which part of the grievances is the wages, the salaries. All these are under review. We have a very powerful committee under Yayela Ahmed, and we know the caliber of person he is, and he's working together with this union and his committee to actually provide a lasting solution to that, issues around welfare and the rest.
One of the factors contributing to the fall in education is low university capacity in Nigeria. Admission crisis is one of our problems. Let's use one of the data provided by JAMB on its website. So, for instance, in 2015, it says out of 415,000, students were only able to get 415,500 admissions out of over 1 million people that applied. But this also tells us probably that not everybody should be applying for University of Education. Today, it's all about certificate, but maybe not everybody needs to be at the university. Maybe they can be channeled to other forms of education. So Nigeria's education system today leaves, a lot of people, millions, that cannot gain admission into university. What are you doing about this?
Let me start. You quote a 2015 data. I would love to have you quote a 2024.
Okay, share with us.
But what I can say now,
yes.
what I can say, initially we start talking about the TVET. The TVET is just this, realizing that there are a lot of opportunities. We focus so much on certification, but then there are a lot of opportunities that people have, and that is why we are focusing on TVET. As we are talking now, I can tell you that a bricklayer, a qualified bricklayer, probably earns more money than a teacher because of the skill he has. He has a lot of opportunities and he earns a lot of money. We have plumbers that are earning a lot of money. But because of the perception of the general populace, people run away from these skills, from this vocation, because of the perception that they are, it doesn't have prestige. And therefore, people run away from these skills, from this vocation. But there are excellent ways of earning money. And that is why we are trying to give individual opportunities. Learn this skill. By the time you are skilled in this, your job is there for you. It's a skill that is in demand. For instance, part of the TVET
where can
program,
people go to?
As I said, this is a program we are rolling out in 2025. We are going to give these opportunities in the 36 state plus FCT. We have done the mapping for these STIs and VEIs, where you can go and learn this. Is it a 6-month program you want to go for, depending on the kind of skill you want to learn? Is it a 1-year program, which is the VEIs that you want to learn? We have all those programs already mapped. We are working on that. We have a timeline. It's going to, in fact, some of these programs are rolling out. The VEIs, the STIs, we are hoping to start in April. And we are going to do a lot of media advocacy. We are going to do a lot of sensitization so that people are aware of this program starting. And then apart from that also, even for our graduates, there are a lot of online jobs available. So this TVET training and skill training goes together with digitization, where there are a lot of digital training that we are going to do for our graduates. Graduates that have completed their university can key into this training. We have AI and machine learning, programming, different digital skills that you can learn. There is a huge market for that.
Okay, we have to also talk about unavailability of qualified teachers, as well as continued teacher education and training during the period. It's a crisis also. What are you doing?
It's part of the, let me just rewind a bit and talk about the 6 key priority areas that we have. We have the out-of-school children, we have the TVET, we have the quality education, we have the data and digitization, and we also have girls' education. So these are our priority area. I have already talked about out-of-school children, I have talked about TVET. Now let's talk about quality education. We have, for quality education, if we're talking about quality education, there are different indices for quality education. So we have programs that we are going to roll out. Part of this training, when you're talking about quality education, is it has to do with complete teacher training. We are going to look at teacher training at different levels. Those that are pre-service, those that are in service. Those that are in service, we are going to have continuous professional development training, and we are going to take into account new methods of teaching. We know, as we are aware, there are different new methods of teaching, gamification, AI, Cocomelon approach. There are different approaches that are out there now that actually engage the learner and result in more lifelong learning.
You know, when we talk about all this AI and all these big names, you know, there are so many people that don't even have the basic primary and secondary education.
For those that are in service. We're talking about teachers now.
Right.
So we're talking about for those that are in service. Already these are trained teachers. What we want to do is to retrain them in these new approaches and also give them the digital tool. So it's not about just giving them the pedagogical content knowledge, but we want to also give them digital knowledge to meet the 21st century challenge. And then we have the pre-service, those that are in colleges of education and universities that are going for training. For those, we are also reviewing the curriculum. Right now, the NCE curriculum is on the review, and we are reviewing them to include different aspects, different happenings, different factors that are resulting in this low quality education. So we are actually reviewing the curriculum to ensure that pre-service teachers are adequately trained in such a way that they become more competent and effective teachers while in school. Finally,
before we go, there was that uproar about admission into university, the age, whether I was going to be 16 or 18. Where are we on that?
We have a national policy on education that specified entry age into university, but it's not exclusive. Is recommended age that you enroll your children. As we are all aware, there are other factors you need to consider. There are those that are above average, there are those that are gifted. So for us, the 16 years, just like we have, is also something that is in practice, 16 years entry into the university, and we still operate in that entry age.
Professor Suwaba Saidu, thank you so much for coming on Arise Prime Time.
Nice, thank you for having me.